You ever have one of those days where everything just goes pear-shaped? You start off confident. Maybe you're baking a cake, pitching a big idea, or trying to impress someone, and then suddenly, boom! The cake collapses, the laptop crashes, the date walks out halfway through dinner. Total chaos. Wouldn't it be great if there were an expression in English that summed up that beautifully disastrous moment when everything goes wrong in spectacular fashion? Well, there is. And today, I'm going to teach you what Aussies say when things don't just fail, they explode gloriously. G'day, you mob. Welcome to Aussie English. I'm your host, Pete, and my objective here is to teach you guys the English spoken down under. So whether you want to sound like a fair dinkum Aussie, or you just want to understand what the flippin' hell we're on about when we're having a yarn, you've come to the right place. So sit back, grab a cuppa, and enjoy Aussie English. Let's go. G'day, you mob. Welcome to this episode of Aussie English. I am your host, Pete, and this is the number one podcast for anyone and everyone wanting to learn Australian English. So, I hope you guys are well. I am surviving the heat. Yesterday was, at least inside my car, it was 44 degrees. 44 degrees Celsius. It was a scorcher. We were roasting. My kids went to a water park nearby called Adventure Park and spent at least the first half of the day before lunch just splashing around and enjoying the different rides and events and all that sort of stuff there, which was cool. Whereas I was at home staying out of the heat with the aircon on. So that was an interesting day, and we have the same thing tomorrow. It's been really weird. There's been these 3 days in a row, right? We had one day, so yesterday would have been Wednesday, the 7th of January, 40-something degrees. Today, it's like 20-something degrees, and then tomorrow, it's going to be potentially the hottest day on record in Australia in January. So, go figure. I don't know why it's going so much sort of like up and down. It's very weird, but yeah, so it's an interesting few days at the moment. The weather has been dramatic down here in Victoria, as usual. Anyway, welcome to the episode. Today, we're going to go through the expression to go down in flames. To go down in flames. The structure of the episode is going to be that I will tell you a little joke. We'll go through the words one by one and break them down in this expression. We'll go through the meaning and usage, some real-life examples. We then have a little pronunciation and speaking exercise. And then lastly, we'll have an Aussie fact of the day. Don't forget, there will be a free PDF for you to download for this episode that'll have a lot of the vocab and the speaking exercise inside of it. So you can go to the website or into the description, click the link, and you'll be able to download this free PDF. And if you want to support the podcast and get access to the full transcript for this episode and over 1,300 other episodes, as well as get access to the bonus episodes for members, the premium podcast player that allows you to read and listen at the same time, sign up to the premium podcast membership at aussieenglish.com.au/podcast. Okay? Anyway, slap the bird, guys. Get that kookaburra laughing, and let's get into the joke. All right, so the joke today. Why did the match go to school? So a match, right? You strike a match, usually against a box, to light it, and then probably, I don't know, light a cigarette, start a fire, whatever you want to do. Start the oven, start the barbecue. Why did the match go to school? It wanted to be a little brighter. Do you get it? It wanted to be a little brighter. So, the joke here is the pun on the word brighter. Brighter can mean giving off light. You know, if you strike a match and the flame lights up, it's going to be very bright. And if it wants to get more bright, it gets brighter. But we can also use bright in English, or brighter, to mean smart or smarter. So your child might be very bright, they're very smart. And if you want them to be even more smart, smarter, they will become more bright, brighter. Okay, so why did the match go to school? It wanted to be a little brighter. Okay.
That was good, wasn't it? It was good for a bit of a giggle anyway.
All right, so let's get into the words in today's expression, to go down in flames, to go down in flames. So go here is a verb, obviously, to move or change state. Here it means to end up in a particular situation. Things can go wrong quickly if you're not careful. To go. Down, this is an adverb here. So I guess to go down, we're using it as like a phrasal verb. So down, toward a lower position, figuratively here, toward failure or defeat. The company went down after the scandal. In, this is acting as a preposition in this phrase, to go down in flames, in. And this expresses the situation or condition something occurs within. He finished the race in record time. And lastly, flames, or a flame if you want to use the singular, this is a noun. Flames are the visible part of a fire. Here, symbolic of disaster, destruction, or failure. The house went up in flames. And there's a little interesting expression there, to go up in flames, as opposed to go down in flames. To go up in flames would be like to catch fire and burn. Whereas when we talk about today's expression, to go down in flames, this means to fail spectacularly. Often in a very obvious, disastrous, or embarrassing way, to go down in flames. It's often used for things like projects, plans, performances, or attempts that end up in a big mess. It can be serious, like a business collapsing, it goes down in flames, or it can be lighthearted, like someone trying to cook an amazing meal and it's a disaster. The meal goes down in flames. The cooking attempt goes down in flames. So it paints a vivid picture, not just failing, but doing so in a big, fiery, memorable way. So to go down in flames, to fail dramatically and often publicly, to go down in flames. And I tried to look up the origin of this expression, and like many of these vivid English idioms, go down in flames began as a literal description before it became a metaphor for failure. So the phrase is strongly linked to early aviation, especially during World War I and World War II, when fighter planes, often made from wood, fabric, and fuel tanks, could catch fire in mid-air after being hit, shot, hit with a rocket, whatever it was. When a pilot's aircraft was struck and began to burn before crashing, eyewitnesses would describe it as having gone down in flames. Over time, that powerful image of a fiery fall came to represent any kind of spectacular downfall. Not just an aircraft going down in flames, but also businesses, performances, personal efforts that ended in dramatic failure. And by the mid-20th century, so the 1900s, the phrase was being used figuratively across the English-speaking world, appearing in journalism, literature, and later pop culture, including songs like Go Down in Flames by Semisonic and Kiss. So it's one of these expressions that grew naturally out of a vivid real-world event that people witnessed firsthand, probably back in the First and Second World War. So it's pretty cool, huh? Anyway, to go down in flames, to fail dramatically or publicly. All right, let's get into some real-world examples of how to use this expression in day-to-day life, okay? Example number 1, a cooking disaster. You're trying to impress your friends with a fancy dessert, a chocolate souffle, of course. You follow the recipe carefully, set the oven timer, and wait confidently, only to open the oven and discover a blackened, smoking crater where dessert used to be. Well, that souffle went down in flames. Probably time to order pizza. So it's used when something you tried to do ends in complete disaster here, but you can laugh about it. A more serious example number 2, a business situation or project. A new Aussie startup launches with heaps of hype. They've got investors, ads, and a big social media push. But a few months later, the funding dries up, customers disappear, and the dream comes crashing down. The company went down in flames after the investors pulled out. So here, this is perfect for describing a project, a business, or plan that fails dramatically and publicly, not just quietly fading away in the background. And lastly, example number 3, so perhaps a relationship or romantic example here. A friend confesses their feelings to someone they like, and plans a big romantic dinner. You know, candles, flowers, the whole shebang, right? Everything. But halfway through the evening, the other person says, look, I like you. I just see you as a friend. You know, that ouch kind of thanks but no thanks. So you might say this person's romantic plan went down in flames before the main course had even arrived. So this shows the idiom can be used for emotional or social situations here that end badly with a touch of humor or sympathy. To go down in flames. So these examples show to go down in flames can describe both serious and lighthearted situations, from cooking and comedy to love, business, or everyday stuff-ups. It always suggests a big, visible, dramatic failure, often with a touch of humour or exaggeration.
Would you like a Chardonnay, Kylie?
Kim, it's not Chardonnay. The correct pronunciation is Chardonnay.
Mum, it's French. The H is silent. Back me up here, Kylie.
Okay, now it's time for a little pronunciation and speaking exercise. So I am going to read out a bunch of sentences conjugating through different pronouns: I, you, he, she, we, they, it. Your goal here is to read these out loud after me and try and work on your Australian pronunciation. Okay, so try and match the pronunciation of the different sounds, the rhythm, the stress, all of that sort of stuff. Okay, find somewhere away from other people if you're sort of a bit, self-conscious. And just find a place where you can do this confidently and comfortably, okay? So listen and repeat after me. I went down in flames. You went down in flames. He went down in flames. She went down in flames. We went down in flames. They went down in flames. It went down in flames. Good job. How did you find it? Were those ones a little difficult or a little easy? It might be a bit too easy. Maybe I have to mix things up. Or these episodes might go down in flames. You never know. See what I did there? Okay, so a little pronunciation tip here. Let's talk a little bit about linking and connected speech. So I wonder, there's sort of two things that I want to mention here in today's series of exercises, in this sort of phrase that we were going through. Went down in flames. The T at the end of the word went. Do you hear it as a hard T? T. Or do you hear it being muted? Went down in flames. Went down in flames. Went down in flames. It's being muted. So because N and T are kind of in the same position in the mouth, the tongue goes into the same position, it lifts up and blocks the airflow from out of your mouth. Went. We just don't release the T because the next word starts with a consonant. D in this case. So you mute after that N, when, and you mute, you sort of stop the T sound, went, and then you go straight into the D, went down, without releasing your tongue. So you go went down, went down, went down. I went down in flames. Now the second thing to mention is down, in. How do these link together? Down in, down in, down in. We kind of take the N off the end of the word down and start the next word in with this consonant so that it flows better. So instead of down in, you get down in, down in. I went down in flames. You went down in flames. Good job. So go back, listen to that exercise again. See if you can mute the T at the end of the word went down, and then try and link in to the end of the word down by moving that N from down to the start of the word in. So instead of saying in, try and say nin. I went down in flames. Good job. Cheeky little plug. Remember, if you want to work on your Australian pronunciation, check out my Australian pronunciation course, the Aussie English pronunciation course. You can get this for $100 off when you use the link aussieenglish.com.au/APC 100. It'll take you through how to use the International Phonetic Alphabet to learn and improve your pronunciation. It'll take you through every single consonant and vowel sound in Australian English. And then in the last section, it'll take you through advanced sounds and linking and connected speech, everything like that. So go check it out at aussieenglish.com.au/APC100. The link will be in the description. So now let's get into the Australian fact of the day, and then we'll finish up. Did you know that Australia has one of the largest aerial firefighting fleets in the world during bushfire season? Because bushfires can literally go up in flames and spread like wildfire, literally. Australia uses massive water bombing aircraft like the Boeing 737 Marie Bashir and the DC-10 air tankers to fight fires. The 2019-2020 Black Summer bushfires were so intense that flames reached 70 metres high, and some towns experienced firestorms, walls of flames moving faster than cars. These events gave real visceral meaning to the phrase "go down in flames." Entire regions were devastated in catastrophic fire events. Thankfully, Aussies have also become global leaders in bushfire response and community resilience. And yeah, we have this huge aerial firefighting fleet that tries to deal with any bushfire that might flare up in summer. So while "go down in flames" is usually figurative, in Australia we sadly know the literal version all too well. And hopefully this year we don't have too many bushfires in Australia, knock on wood. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me today, guys. I hope you're enjoying these episodes. Be sure to download the free PDF. Remember, that'll be in the description. It'll have the vocab, the examples, and the pronunciation exercise in there. And if you want to support the podcast whilst improving your English quickly and effectively, sign up for the premium podcast membership at aussieenglish.com.au/podcast. Thanks for listening. Drop us a review if you can, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye. Alright, that's it for today. If you found this one helpful, leaving a quick review really does help other learners find the podcast. And if you know someone who's learning Aussie English, feel free to share this episode with them too, mate. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one.